Hey guys, I hope you've had a blessed day today. I hope that you've had time to spend with the Lord in prayer and worship and in His Word. Speaking of His Word, the daily reading today, it's in 1 Kings chapters 1 through 3. Now, if we were to read these chapters, if I were to very simply summarize them, you would see that David's life is coming to its end. You could see that Solomon has difficulty becoming king. There was a struggle for succession there. And you also see that amazing part of Solomon's life, probably one of the better parts of his life, where God gives him a choice. And of all things that Solomon could have asked for, he asked for wisdom. So as a Christian, how can I read these chapters and apply that to my life today? What can I pull from these chapters that will help me in my walk with the Lord, not only grow closer to Him, but also help me in sharing the gospel and being a light in this darkness? I think what you can see is that it's important to listen to God. You know, one of the most important things for us to do is to seek the Lord's guidance. When Solomon chose wisdom, I think you can see that was one of the main components in why he chose that. Because if he had wisdom that came straight from the Lord, in that, you can see that he would always seek God's guidance, that there would always be something drawing him to the Word. God keeps His promises. God promised David that there would always be someone from his line as a king, right? And you can see that when Solomon became king, that God was continuing to keep that promise. And you see that was fulfilled all the way until we have Jesus, who is the King of Kings. And He came from the line of David. You can see that sin has consequences. Now, it's interesting when you read about Adonijah or Adonijah, I guess is the proper way to say it. But you know, he tried to fight for the throne and he didn't win. And it's important for us to recognize when there's sin in our life that we need to turn away from sin and we need to turn to God. He didn't do that, and it didn't work out very well for him. You also see that wisdom is valuable. It's so valuable. When Solomon asked for wisdom, he knew that in that he would always be able to seek God for help. That he'd always be able to go to God for help. He could have asked for riches. He could have asked for popularity. He could have asked for so many things. But I think ultimately what Solomon understood was that the best thing to ask for would be the wisdom that only God could provide. And if we seek God's wisdom, I think that when we make decisions in our lives, if we're seeking God's wisdom and His guidance, we're not going to fall away. And we're not going to lead others astray either. I think you can also remember that in Solomon's life, when he started putting other things before the Lord, that's when his life started kind of crumbling. But what we can learn from those 3 chapters is it's important to listen to God, that God always keeps His promises, that sin has consequences, and that wisdom is so valuable. I hope that those 4 points can continue to guide you in your walk with the Lord, and that you can continue to go strong in your relationship with Him and continue to be a light in this dark world. That's what we're called to do. We're called to share the gospel. We're called to share the light. We're called to make disciples. So go do that. Continue to ask God. Continue to seek God. Put Him first above all things. Turn away from your sin. It's so much better when we do it that way. I love you guys, and I hope you have a good night.